But this is a whole mature style of art. You clearly can see Indian and Chinese influences
Yeah.
and foreign influences and things like that.
Yes.
But it's a whole unified culture of art.
Yes.
Um, and it very vigorous. I mean, if those were made in the 19th century, it shows just how strong that culture was in the 19th century. It's still pretty strong.
Yes.
So it's interesting because Tibet's not an easy place to live, and to have time to make all this great art is pretty impressive.
So we go to and continue with the Asian collection. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
So we go to different ones, and
Yeah.
Pete, I don't have any description of this item, but next time I promised I need to go and do it because I forgot. What is this?
Does that name Teppo, is that relating to it?
I don't think so. I think this tepo is this arquebus for the Japanese.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's Japanese, like the
Yes.
Japanese word for gun.
I don't know what
That
it is.
it's it looks like a kind of knife club. So
Yeah,
a circular sharpened flint knife.
yeah.
It looks maybe Polynesian Pacific Island, maybe, but it could be Indonesian archipelago because there was a whole range of technical
Yes.
levels of culture
And they have from
in there.
both cultures artifacts. We will see as you will see.
Yeah, yeah. Ah, here's one of those wonderful little guns.
Yes. Yes.
I've seen those up close. They're really pretty. I mean, they're beautifully cast.
Yes, they are.
It's an amazing thing that so much art was put into what is effectively a small mobile cannon on a gimbal setup to prevent boarding or to enable boarding because there was a lot of piracy in the
Yes.
general area. And then we have a remarkable Chris where they've got the top part of the scabbard has become detached and attached to the handle.
Yes.
Uh,
Exactly.
so that happy monster head should be actually down on the scabbard, not up on the
Exactly.
handle.
That's what I was.
Yes,
Why is it cut the scabbard? And then yeah.
yeah. No, I'd say when they got it, some of the glue or something had seeped in and stuck to that top part of the handle, and when they went to take it out of the scabbard, the whole top of the scabbard came off.
Yeah.
Because these are quite complex the way they're put together.
Yeah.
They're really remarkable. Because I knew someone who'd gone to Java to learn how to make kris, and spent years. He used to go back every year to visit his teachers and whatever. And he did make beautiful kris. I mean, they were up there with anything you'd see from a traditional kris. But from what he told me, and he showed me photocopies of books in Old Javanese, which is an Indic style of script, with enormous amounts of detail about how things were made and how to do things and what spirits would come and inhabit the blade to protect you when you're fighting. So it's a very complex, sophisticated, and I think underappreciated art form, making kris, because every adult male was supposed to own a kris in the old days. It was one of the symbols of manhood.
Yes.
And what always struck me, because Indonesia is tropical, they had a lot of woods that you never ever see anywhere else, and they knew how to carve them and bring out the natural colors in the wood. So, I mean, highly decorated ones like this often appeal to European taste because there's so much there to look at. But a lot of presses would, if you just saw an outline, look very plain. But when you see the woods in the handle and in the scabbard and actually feel the textures and that, they're ultimate pieces of art. They're absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely. Oops, sorry. So you see,
Ah.
oh,
Oh,
that's
there's definitely a teppo
yes,
up above.
and also
It's
a
interesting.
katana. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, and then below that a Winchester, I think, repeating
Yeah.
right.
We will
That's
talk
been
about
highly
this
decorated.
European later, because
Yeah,
the thing is
but what?
I cannot separate them because sometimes some of them appear.
What? Oh yeah, no, and I understand that. I was going to say about the teppo. I was watching. There's a Hungarian YouTube channel
Yeah.
called Cap and Ball about um firearms. And he did a thing on arquebuses, and it's interesting the way there's two ways for a matchlock to work. One is that the match goes forward, and the other one is the match comes back. And muskets generally had coming back, and arquebuses generally had going forward. And the Japanese copied their locks from arquebus locks. And some people say, oh, the Japanese are totally different from Europeans because the matchlock, the serpentine goes forward, but it's not.
Mm.
It's one of two ways
The interesting
matchlocks were made.
information you're providing, because all I had from early Safavid period in the collection in my Persian Fire and Steel, all of matchlocks in Iranian collection from Safavid period and Afshari, they're all forward.
Yeah, I think that means that style of firearm was introduced quite early,
Yes, exactly.
um, rather than coming in the 17th or 18th century.
Yes.
If you have a look at Kofang, which I think is the name for the so-called Torador matchlock guns from India, they also have the trigger at the rear and the serpentine going forward. And I think, if I remember, so do the Turkish guns with the polygonal stocks. It goes forward, not backwards. So I would say that means that the technology entered Turkey, Iran, and India very early on. We know when firearms entered Japan because there was a shipwreck and whatever, Tanegashima, the where it was happened. So that's dated, and we know that they were using arquebuses then. The Portuguese or the Dutch, I think it was Portuguese shipwreck, were using the forward moving serpentine. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Japanese refined it, and it's interesting that as opposed to using a stock that sat on your shoulder and you pulled the trigger and that absorbed the recoil, the Japanese retained what was essentially we would think of as a pistol stock.
Yeah.
But in order to absorb the recoil, the barrels are very heavy.
Yeah.
Or at least the ones I've seen. I haven't seen lots, so maybe I'm wrong. So therefore, what I compared them to was I had a work colleague. Her and her husband were bench rest shooters, target shooters, and in bench rest rifles, the barrels are very heavy and the stocks are really light because it's precision. You don't want the body moving the barrel when you shoot, and so to me, these resemble those more than they do like a ordinary rifle that you would see with a normal stock, like at the bottom there. So I find it very interesting. There's in Joseph Needham's Science and Civilization book on gunpowder, there is a series of woodcut prints of how to load and shoot a musket, and it is a matchlock with a forward moving serpentine, and the person doing the demonstration is wearing a Turkish turban because they brought in experts from Turkey because they were in India, because a lot of Turkish gunners moved to India to work for the Moguls because the money was good. And clearly they also were recruited in China. And
Funny.
this is, I don't know, early 1700s or something like that.
Yes. So we have it
See,
there written.
arquebus.
Yes,
Yeah,
we have it here written, and yeah, you can see that. So Japan,
yeah.
15th century. So that's what we have written. Yes, exactly.
There are people in Japan that have revived these and go through all the drills and everything and shoot them.
Yes, exactly.
So I mean, it's a live art.
For those guys who wonder, the museum, everything is written in Spanish and also in Catalan, right? Look
Mhm.
at this bead. Here you can have a closer look at that. Next time when I go to Mallorca, I'm going to find out about that. Look at this. This is amazing.
It looks like it's had holes drilled in it to take the cords to mount it on the handle.
Yeah.
Um, and the handle has two. Well, I assume there's one on the other side as well. Two projections to stop it from turning.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's really quite an interesting
Yeah.
weapon, and it's covered in cloth, printed cloth.
Yeah. Looks
Or when I
solid.
say print, it might be tie dyed. I don't know. I'm not a. But
Here
yeah,
you
yeah,
need,
it's
right?
really, really, really nice.
Oh, here, this one you talked about. This is
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah, the Winchester
yeah.
is here, the
Lantaka.
description of the
Yes,
Winchester.
yes,
Yes.
yeah. But yeah, the Lantaka is, I think, what they're called in English. Those guns.
Yes, here, Lantaka. Here we have it as a border
Yeah, yeah,
Lantaka.
yeah,
And 18th century, right? Malaysia,
yeah.
they say.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think they were used into the 19th century in some areas.
Yes.
But by that stage, I think they'd become, things for letting off ceremonial um, volleys and that to welcome important visitors rather than being real weapons. They were mounted on boats that were essentially used for piracy. They were anti-personnel weapons because they didn't want to sink the other ship; they wanted to capture it.
Oh, Pete,
But
you can look at it now better. Look at the muzzle. It's
yeah, they
beautiful.
have these dragon heads with the mouth open, which
Yeah,
is
here.
where
Yeah.
it's very. I think in the 70s and 80s, these were collected as sculpture rather than as not by gun experts, by people who wanted to have one of these in their lounge room or
Pete,
something
I have a
mounted on.
question for you. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
It's very important. We go back to dragons. Did dragons in the past have a better life in Europe, in Middle East, or in Asia?
I think they were better off in East Asia
Exactly.
because they were highly regarded, they were respected, and they were treated with respect.
Yes.
In the Middle East, they were a mixture because
Yes.
when the Mongols invaded, they brought a lot of Chinese artisans with them, and they brought Chinese ideas. So the dragons in the Middle East started to look more and more Chinese,
Yes.
but they were still the dragons from the Shah Namar and things like that. So
Yes.
they hadn't changed their nature, whereas the Chinese dragons were wise and
Yeah.
beneficial to everybody. The ones in Persia were um, often manifestations of evil,
Evil. Yes.
and yeah, and when you get to Europe, it's pretty much the same. They're often manifestations of evil. Though we have the whole thing like in Beowulf, where the
Yes.
dragon accumulates all this
Yes.
gold and treasure and guards it, and
I
and
mean,
is
Pete,
yeah, is
the
this
reason
yeah?
I asked this provocative question, it was for a reason for our viewers. Thanks for
Hmm.
answering it. Guys, when you see a dragon, you need to analyze it in its own cultural context.
Yep.
That's the reason I asked Pete this provocative
No,
question.
and that's yeah, and I think that's perfectly logical. And
Yeah.
and sometimes dragons, even in the West, even though they're um, symbols of evil,
Yeah.
become symbols of countries or cultures, like the Dragon of Wales.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing
Yes.
because it symbolizes Wales, not but it's a dragon.
Yes.
Oh, there's some odd looking knives. I mean, the two bottom ones, I recognize the type.
Yes.
Uh,
Do you remember
the
this is so-called the collectors call it Black Sea Yatagan, but it has also its own name. Nowadays we know the name. The locals call it.
Yeah, but I don't think these are those. These look more like they're from Indonesia or the
No,
Philippines.
this one is not bead. This one is not.
Is it? So
Yeah,
that's a Black Sea again. Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Gee, I wouldn't have picked that.
yeah.
But then again,
I
they
think
would
so.
have
Yeah, I
provenance.
think so.
Yeah, they would have provenance. So I because it does really have that look of the. I mean, I've seen Black Sea Yatagans which are really quite efficient looking, uh, but
Yeah,
it's hard to tell when it's in a scabbard, I suppose. I
yeah,
mean, the scabbard's obviously to take the shape of the blade,
yeah,
but the I don't know the one on the top looks
yeah. Bead. This is
or
Black Sea
like a
Yatagan. It is. It is. Yeah,
yeah yeah. Oh well, as I say, I can't see the blade, so I'm
yeah,
was only guessing.
yeah,
But the one at the top, the
yeah.
mounting looks like a combination of Far Eastern and European in design. See, the reason that it immediately made me think of Malaysia and the Philippines is that very tapering
Yeah.
joint between the handle and the blade. It's
Mhm.
very, very
And
thin and narrow.
this handle, for a long time, people, not long time, 20 years ago, they couldn't find it until pictures resurfaced. And then also they contacted people in Turkey and they found out that they really still, some of them are being produced again. They knew that.
Yeah,
It looks,
yeah,
the handle looks like a scorpion, somehow.
yeah,
Reminds
yeah,
me.
yeah. I look at it, to me, it reminds me of a fork. But the principle is to stop it sliding through your hand. It's
Yes, yes.
but yeah, yeah,
And here we have these Filipino panabas. You see?
yeah. See, this is why I immediately thought, without seeing the blade, that was
Yeah,
like Filipino or Malay,
yeah,
because everything else looks Filipino or
yeah,
Malay.
yeah. Filipino, Malay, or
Yeah.
Indonesian. But this is I love panabas. One of the blades I really love is panabas.
Mm.
Heavy and really,
Utilitarian.
yeah, I love panabas. Yeah.
The blade on the number 4 on the extreme left looks like a booge,
Um,
um,
mhm.
which is a North Indian ceremonial
Oh,
kind of
yes, that's
weapon.
it. There are a connection of
Yeah,
different Asian. Yeah, this one you mean, right?
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
That's right. Let me just
So
see. Oh, we have another side. You take a look at that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is interesting because the number 11 is clearly that kind of Nepali Sikkim
So
chopping weapon.
exactly the so-called Quora, as the collectors
Yeah,
call it, right?
yeah, yeah. I was a bit nervous about giving it a name because sometimes people have different names for it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean,
there's
we know that these collector name terminology needs to be double checked. We both know that.
well, I mean, collectors develop names because they bought something and they asked the guy they bought it for, what do you call that? And he might have said in his language, "Oh, we call that a knife." And they said, bitchak. That means a knife with a bifurcated end,
Exactly, that's it.
but it means a knife. It's like pillage for sword or shamshir for sword.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I notice a lot of people like to kind of go into the derivation of shamshir, lion's tail and all this kind of stuff. But
Yes,
that's not the important part. The important part is shamshir meant sword in general, not
exactly.
a curved sword, not and
Yeah.
shamshir is older than curved swords. The word is in my Palladi dictionary.
Yes, it is.
So
It is. Yes.
this is where I think people make these kind of
Oops. Sorry.
generalizations. So there's some Cora type knives there.
Pete, take
Uh,
a look at that. From different parts of Asia, we have knives here.
yeah, so you've got a Tibetan Amdo type short sword, number
Yep.
19.
Here.
You've
Let
got
me
a
show it also, right?
Piaketa,
Yeah.
which is number 18, which is from Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka. Yeah.
Yeah. Then down in the bottom row, number 14 is a typical Cora type thing. I've got these all over my house. They
That's right.
they grow in the dark. The next one, number 13, is one of those stone and mother of pearl hilted
Yeah.
uh, knives. I think late 19th and early 20th century.
This
It
one.
was a common way of
Yeah.
mounting the hilts.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
uh,
Mother of pearl is here and jade.
yeah,
Yep, that's right.
yeah, exactly. That was very, very popular in the 19th century. Sometimes the blades are much older,
Yeah.
because they re-hilted blades because handles can get worn out. You notice then we've got a grist type thing, number 15, I suppose,
Hmm.
um, with a big chunk of ivory or whale's tooth or something as the handle.
Are you talking about
That's a
this
really,
one, Bede? This
yeah,
one?
yeah,
Oh, this is very beautiful. Yeah.
yeah. It's very solid. The handles of these normally aren't this solid, uh, but still very nice.
Very nice. Yeah.
And to the extreme left, it looks like a kind of tiger or lion-headed
Yeah.
knife of some sort.
Yeah.
So these are all interesting. One of my friends had a almost like a peshkarbs with that type of mother of pearl inlay and jade handle,
Yeah.
about this big, and it was like late 19th century, but the blade was superb. So the I think he's got a kyber knife that's got an ivory, um, the little panels fitted together, an ivory hilt on a big kyber knife like that too. So this kind of mosaic hilt type of thing was very popular in the 19th century because it's really pretty and it works as a hilt. I mean, sometimes bits fall off, but most of the time they stick together pretty well. And I see up above 15, 16, and 17.
Oh, here, let me
15,
show it, please. 15, 16.
yeah.
Yeah.
So 15 looks like some kind of European dagger or knife, but it's not. It's clearly made in I
Yeah.
would say somewhere in India or somewhere
Yeah.
like that. The next
India.
one is a chora kind of knife,
Yeah.
but not a characteristic one. Normally they have a two-section blade and they have a step in the blade and everything. And the next one appears to be some kind of, vague Kanjar type
Yeah.
per blade.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard to tell out of the scabbards.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't take them out of the scabbards because the blade's quite rusty and they got it that way, 200 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But other times it's because, like in the Tibetan one at the bottom, number 19,
Mm.
it actually looks really brilliant in the scabbard.
Yeah.
It's a piece of sculpture as a unit.
Yeah.
So you can understand that.
Yeah. So you
Yeah,
see,
it's
yeah.
yeah. This is interesting. Yeah,
B, do you
yeah,
realize okay, we will see that again. Indian, Ottoman, Indonesian, Malaysian, Chinese, Japanese. In most European collections we have been talking about, have you realized that? But most European collections lack one thing. They have very few Persian. Have you realized that?
I think mainly because Persian was largely collected still in Asia. And I mean, you think of the number of old Persian blades mounted in new hilts that were given from the Shahs of Iran to the Tsars of Russia.
Many.
I mean, there was a real trade in that, and some of the good Persian swords that turn up in European collections
Yeah.
have been rehilted in India because when the English were in India, they took a lot of swords home because they quite liked them. It's
But
they're
the
good
English have a
swords.
very nice way of saying it. They encountered the blade.
Yeah, well, sometimes they encountered it very, very directly. So here we've got a series of tribal battle axes, the two bottom
India,
ones.
right?
Yeah, from India, and a booge type cutting weapon,
Yeah.
which also is from India,
Yes.
more
Yeah.
northern India, I think.
Yes.
But these these battle axes were carried by tribal groups in India. We think of India as uniform culture. It's not.
It's
It's a
not.
patchwork of different cultures, and there are some that are uh, living in small villages in jungles and everything like that, but they still have quite interesting metalworking skills
Absolutely.
and all that. And then in other areas, you've got huge urban centres where they actually had factories for manufacturing swords. And look now, look now, had an incredible um, reputation for making sword blades. Uh, but these would have been made maybe by itinerant blacksmiths to a pattern that that tribe used. That was theirs. This was when somebody's walking around with one of these axes, you know they come from this particular ethnic group or whatever. And of course, these tribal people were hired by rajas and people like that to be part of their armies. So these weapons would sometimes be used in warfare against modern armies. Well, uh, the English didn't have any problems with them, really. They also supplied archers with bamboo longbows. I mean, it's really incredible the kind of uh, range of weapon types used in the subcontinent. I mean, you go from the most sophisticated swords right to these axes.
Absolutely. So we have here as well. So we saw them already. Okay,
Hmm.
let's go here. I can show this to you now, Pete. There is a short video.
Oh, good.
Look at this.
Hmm. Plantuck is very small. They're normally bigger than that, about 5 feet long. That's a Tuareg sword, isn't it?
This one, that one is the so-called, yes, Tuareg sword. Exactly. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, we will come to African collection later on. Yeah, they have a
Mhm.
huge one as well. This is the one we talked about it. Do you remember, Pete?
Yeah, yeah. It's really unusual.
Very unusual, you see? And this is one thing which we talk. Yeah, very beautiful. And I can show
Yeah,
this one to you. Please take a look at that. This is the things we talked about. So maybe when it moves, we get more
yeah,
insights. Look, interesting, huh?
yeah, yeah.
Look,
I like the fact that in the Indo-Malayan Philippine world that they had their own takes on blade shapes. They invented their own types of blade,
absolutely.
and I think that's it's a very inventive world.
Very.
I mean, not only do they do wonderful carvings of demons and whatever, but they actually thought outside the box in blade shapes, in ways of using weapons.
Yes.
Um, it's really quite impressive.
Really impressive. Really impressive. You can see that all these things. And yeah,
Mm.
so here, oh, sorry. Here we move on, please.
So this
Pete,
is
look at these beauties. Unbelievable.
yeah, Das.
Yes, yes. And Chinese yuan, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking mainly Burmese, are they,
Yeah.
or are they Thai as well?
Some of them are
They look.
Thai, but mostly, as
Yeah,
you mentioned correctly, Burmese.
yeah,
They
yeah.
are beautiful, and I handled many of them in collections, of course. Not my area
Hmm.
of research, but solid blades. My God, good blades.
Oh yeah, yeah. They've got a very interesting balance.
Yeah,
And it was quite common in Thailand and Burma to dual wield, having two
yeah,
swords at once.
yes,
I mean, in Thai fencing, which I think is still going on quite strongly, it's a extremely rapid attack with two blades.
ex-
And for fencing, they use softer iron blades, but they still throw sparks when they hit each other. It's very spectacular to watch.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So
Uh,
you can take a look at these.
oh,
These
look at
are
the
fantastic blades.
yeah, they're really beautifully made
Yeah,
and almost a perfect shape for cutting.
yeah.
I mean, you couldn't think of a better one.
Sure.
And somewhat like katanas, the handle follows the same curve as the blade rather than curving the other way,
Yes.
which I I've handled a few of these, and it feels perfectly natural. There's
Yes.
some paintings from Shiraz in the early Timurid period, which
Yeah.
shows shamshirs with handles that follow the curve of the blade.
Yes, they do.
Quite large handles too, not
Yes.
the small one-handed handles, but quite
Absolutely.
large ones, which are probably large for balance. But it's
Yes.
interesting that it wasn't just in one area that they tried this method out. And in Burma and Thailand, they kept it up for a long time because I think you could make armor, and they knew how to make armor, but the weather wasn't suitable for wearing armor. It was too hot and wet. And so therefore a lot of people were just wearing clothes and light clothes at that
See,
because you didn't want something
if
that
you
was
wear an
heavy.
armor there, you don't need an enemy because you die of dehydration.
I agree. It would be. I mean, Sydney gets hot and it has a problem with humidity in summer. So I kind of got that experience. But when I was in, where did I go? I think it was Hong Kong, which you wouldn't have thought was particularly tropical, but it was massive amounts of humidity and a high temperature. It was very, very uncomfortable. Um, and the thought of wearing armor really is you've got to hand it to anyone that was prepared to do it. But I can't see them living very long
Exactly.
because you really, I mean,
Yes.
even padded cloth armor would be too hot to wear.
Look
Uh,
at the Jians. I also love Chinese swords. Really nice.
oh yeah, they're some of the small ones are sometimes perfectly proportioned. The bigger ones are clearly meant for use. These small ones, I don't know whether I've got one in a tortoiseshell scabbard, and it looks somewhat similar to these, and it's got a perfect diamond section blade.
Mm.
It's only about that long,
Mm.
and it's just so perfectly made, and you think to yourself, well, who wore these?
Mm.
Because military officers wore Dao.
Now, yes,
These, as far as I know, are for civilians.
yes.
And my Chinese martial arts friends told me that the hilts that turn up like that are it's actually a military design. It's the civilian design they turn down, the military design they turn up. Now I
Yeah.
don't know how accurate that is. That could have been just like in one area, but yeah, the
Beautiful.
high quality casting of the brass fittings and all that. Well, my one hanging on the wall over there somewhere.
Yes.
Uh,
I just want to say, yeah. Yeah. So these are these ones. Please, let's watch these. Also a short video.
oh, good.
Yeah. So look, Pete.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. Look at the fitting speed.
Yeah. See,
Beautiful
this
fitting.
is this is amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
And
Really.
you kind of the kind of European take on Chinese weapons was that uh, you don't make a what's it, a sword out of a nail, or you don't make a soldier out of a good man. Something the confusion looking down on warriors, but of course the actual Chinese society was entirely different. That's what they told people, but in reality, they their weapons design was of very high quality, and there was a lot of
Yes.
high status weapons.
Yes.
Maybe even in the Ming Dynasty. So it wasn't just because the Manchus were quite warlike.
Yes.
It was a continuous thing in China because weapons have use.
Yes. Let me just show the next one. You can see many Indonesian weapons, also Chris.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. The Chris are quite beautiful. The other weapons, which I used to know the names of when I was younger, are parang type things, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got one laying around.
Pete,
Somebody
look
left at
at
a
them.
friend's house.
Look.
Yeah.
Look how beautiful.
See, and see how unique the designs are. They're not like anything in the rest of Asia or
Mm-mm.
Europe or anything like that. Even Africa doesn't have things as weird as this.
Really beautiful.
And of course, the we look at it and see the sweep of the scabbard coming out on the kris. and we get the wrong idea of the way the kris sits, because the kris sits in your hand and you hold the top of the blade. It's not, you don't hold the handle separately. You hold the top of the blade and the handle together.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Oh,
yeah,
we
they're
talked about them, these panabas.
yep. Yes, we've talked about this.
Yeah, let's move on. Okay. Also, these ones we talked about Gian. So different pictures. I just put them here for.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And now look, another
Oh, this is
Campilan, Moro
yeah,
I love Moro weapons. Boy,
yeah.
everything Moro, I love. Baron, Campilan, Panabas, all of. And this is a very good Campilan.
Mm. Isn't it amazing the kind of little flourishes of metalwork at the tip of the blade
Yeah.
that
Look at this bit. Let me
yeah.
excuse me, our viewers a short video so you
Mm.
can see. Oh, and this is
Yeah.
the beheader, headhunter sword, right? Oh,
Oh
look at the
yeah. Oh,
barong beat. Look at the barong.
yeah, yeah. See, these are, and look at the fact that no two hilts are alike.
No.
Every one has been crafted specifically for that weapon, and maybe they're. I mean, they had bird motifs and all kinds of things went into their construction, because again, everything had symbolism. The explanations I got from people that collected them and worked them or made them was
And
that
just, I
everything.
need to say kudos to our colleagues in Mallorca. The humidity in Mallorca is really quite high, and they keep them in a very professional environment.
Oh yeah, that is so impressive.
Really impressive.
Because these things, I mean, normally in Indonesia, I think they have clove oil or something like that on them to stop them from rusting. I can't remember the oil it was.
Yeah.
I know that when you take one out of the scabbard, they have a distinct and very pleasant smell to the blades
Beat.
from the oil they use.
Look at the blade of Campilan.
Yeah, yeah, they were masters of pattern welding.
Exactly.
Pamur, isn't it, in Indonesian Malay?
Yes.
Um, they would use all kinds of different metals together to get the color combinations they want.
Please
Well, you remember that?
take a look at this pattern welded steel.
Yeah,
Magnificent.
they had so much control, and there were rules. There were so many curls and flourishes and whatever that you were allowed to do in a particular blade. And there were ranks of blades, like there were ranks of people.
Yes.
So there were high ranking blades and low ranking blades, and it's a complete culture of its own.
God, these are so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is
And
the
you've
Baron
seen these
blade,
up close. Yeah.
also
Look
pattern
at how.
welded. Look.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you saw the arrowheads. We did a thing on Javanese archery,
Yes.
and the arrowheads are done the same way.
Same way.
And when they're polished and etched, they're so beautiful. I mean, the arrowheads I have were the kris maker who I knew. He cleaned them and re-etched them and polished them like you'd polish a kris,
Yeah.
and that's why they look so good. I mean, I think when he got them, they were just rusted over.
Yes.
But kris makers knew how to perfectly treat the metal to get all of the features they wanted to come out of the metal.
Let's go to Moro Sundong kris.
Yeah, yeah. So
I
these are
also
like
love them. They are so solid blade. Everything Moro is meant for business. Look at
yeah, and
this.
look at how they carved that metal, or not carved it, probably forged it into all
Yeah.
those intricate
Bead.
pullers.
Look at them. They're substantial blades. Look at them.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I've only seen about half a dozen of them in the flesh where I could pick them up,
yeah.
and they really feel like they want to cut something.
Yeah. Solid cutters. Look at this bead
Yeah,
in the video.
yeah. But you can see the close relationship to Chris's. They're just much bigger
Yeah, much bigger.
and much more substantial.
Much more
But a
substantial.
Chris is more designed for stabbing, whereas these could cut really well as well.
Very well. They're razor sharp. All antiques I handle, they're solid
Mm.
and razor sharp.
And the way the hilts are designed to fit into your hand, so you've got a very good um, uh, ergonomic grip for doing damage to your fellow
Pete,
man.
look at the steel. Just by pictures, you can tell. Look at this.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few Keras where there is like a snake or a dragon carved into the blade following the curves, because these aren't so much. We talked about flambeau blades with the kind of regular things. These have a particular number of curves,
Yes.
which I think has to be odd. I think I'm not 100% sure of the symbolism of it, but also often there is a snake or dragon carved following the curves down the center of the blade
Yes.
with its head towards the hilt, I think.
It's magnificent. Look at these.
Yeah.
I can show you now. We move to another area.
Mhm.
Pete, look.
Oh, the Caucasus.
Caucasian. Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. These are, oh, that's unusual. Uh,
I mean, they're mixed, right? You know, there's some.
oh yeah, I can see. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a Mogul jade hilted dagger in there, and but mostly Kinjal Karma type blades,
Mhm.
and whatever that is. I don't know what number 8 is, but it's pretty weird looking. Uh, and kind of miniature Kinjals as well. I always wondered what they were for until I saw a Georgian dance company and little boys come out wearing chakaska and little sheepskin hats, and they had their own little Kinjals, just the right size for a little boy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it
Beautiful.
was quite interesting. I once saw a beautifully made shamshi that was only that long,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it was made for a boy.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at these.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful. Huh?
The metalwork is superb.
Superb.
Yeah, and the number 2 has a very interesting blade, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Is it a pattern welded blade that's been very heavily
Yeah,
etched?
it is.
Yeah, yeah. It's sometimes it's a bit hard to work from photographs. Number 6 is clearly North Indian.
Yeah.
Um, though whether the hilt and the blade were meant to go together is a different issue, because that you often see that hilt on either a card shaped blade or a kanja shaped blade.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Very
yeah,
beautiful.
it's really, yeah, it's very interesting. Oh, here's a whole. Oh, I got one of those. It's a little Amdo knife, number 1. Very Amdo is like the western borderland of Tibet with China.
Yeah.
They make really nice knives.
Yeah. Let me show you
Uh,
the video. If there is a video, yes, there
yeah.
is. You can look at it.
Oh yeah. There's a good collection there.
It is really, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And I didn't take pictures of all. Next time I will do. But I did
Yeah.
my best to take as many as I can.
Yeah, that's a nice little pala type killage. Oh, Yatagans,
Yeah, Yatagans.
unusual. Are these North African
North
swords at the bottom there?
African. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
it looks like a card type knife. More Yatagan. Oh, unusual Yatagans.
Yes.
But that killage is a very fine quality one.
Very
Um,
fine quality. It's magnificent quality.
Bichak type.
Yeah.
Some of them are Bichak. There's a knife with somebody's bust on it.
Yeah.
Number, is it 3? Very
Yeah.
odd. Very odd. So most of these are from the same general area, but I like, Yatagans and Killage. Well, we know where they're from, but the North. See, the thing is, Killage in the standard Turkish style was made in North Africa as well when they
As
were
well.
under Ottoman control.
Absolutely. As well.
And experts can tell them apart. I think there's some proportion differences or something. Or maybe they just signed somebody from Algeria. Uh, it's can be as simple as that. But yeah, I mean, there's that knife number 22. See the really nice hilt it's got, ivory and metal,
Yeah.
and its finger grips, and it's got the bifurcated
Yeah.
pommel, which is typical of a bichak type
Yeah.
knife.
Yeah.
Um, the number 18 looks a like an Ethiopian or Somali inside curve edged sword, not like a Chotel, which is a more thin one. This is the thicker, more. So it's actually only a knife size one, a big knife, but still a knife size one. Jambia from the Arabian Peninsula,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
look
Definitely.
like,
Definitely.
yeah,
Mostly Yemenite, mostly.
yeah, beautiful belts.
Yeah. Magnificent. I love these daggers as well. They're really magnificent.
Yeah, yeah. I've got one, but it's from India. What it still has, it's a Wootz blade and a Wootz handle, which is very rare. Um, I
Yes.
should get it out one day and show you. Um, See, these are kind of like, well, I mean,
And these are also
well,
interestingly from Yemen, right? These ones as
yeah,
well.
that's what I was saying. That the style looks very Yemeni, but
They are.
it's not a type that I recognize.
Yes.
Um, well,
I remember 25 years ago, there was Expo 2000 in Hanover. And when I went there, they were um, pavilion, as they called it, of Yemen. And there were
mm.
many, many smiths from Yemen who
Oh,
presented their
right.
daggers, yeah, their swords. And I saw these types as well there. They still make them. And
Mm.
some are
Well, remember, Yemen
beautiful.
had a high reputation in what is it, the 8th, 9th, and 10th centuries for sword making among Arab sword experts
Yes. And
and
the
Persian
thing
ones as
is,
well.
they kept it, right? So you could see
Yeah,
that.
it
There were
didn't die out.
many, many of them, many of them. Sadly, well, today. Anyhow,
Yeah, well, the world isn't kind to that part of the world, and it's it's
yeah,
it's a shame because there's a lot of talented people there.
yeah. So you see that
And
these,
even if they weren't talented, they didn't deserve bad things happening to them.
absolutely. Look at
Oh
these
yeah,
ones, beautiful ones, right?
yeah. I mean, there's and all different styles of decoration. I mean, same basic things, big ones, small ones, but the decorative styles are very unique. And I noticed number 16, Jambia with a very plain handle, but quite an
Mhm.
attractive blade. So an ivory, not, well, like a stick handle.
Yeah,
It doesn't have any indentations. It doesn't have any real shape to it. But the
mhm.
blade looks really quite elaborate.
Yeah.
And the scabbard looks quite elaborate too.
This one, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, very nice. They have also some African items here. You see that?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
this is the kind of Moroccan,
yeah,
Algerian style of baldric mounted dagger.
yeah.
So it has a strap that goes around the shoulders and hangs it at your waist,
Yes.
whereas most daggers are either attached to a belt or stuck into your belt.
Mhm.
These you wore around your neck. Very
Yeah,
popular in Morocco, I think.
let me show it to you. They have a
Uh,
beautiful collection of Arab daggers and swords.
yeah, well, I mean, there was some beautiful work, and the thing is, you get this kind of variation between Yemenis
Yes.
and Bedouin, and then you've got the
Omani.
Shamaran tribes up into Syria,
Yes.
and I mean, some of them are purely decorative in
Yes.
the sense that you wore them to your wedding long after people carried knives.
Yes.
So that they were still being made into the 1960s or 70s. Maybe they still are. Um, and they weren't meant to be weapons. They were meant to be symbols of your manhood when you
Yes.
go off to marry your
Yes.
bride. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, that's all.
Okay, we talked about them. These Tibetan, right? I can show it to you
So
if
we've
you
got
wish.
these are Nepalese, aren't they? So
Uh,
this is
excuse me, I said
cookery.
Tibetan. These are
Yeah,
Nepalese, exactly. And
yeah.
oh, yes, I want to say Nepalese. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So kukris and
Yes, there you
various
go.
Maikara
Yeah.
pommelled daggers,
Yes, yes.
sometimes with crossguards. The 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 two kukris are typical. There's a kind of little kanja, very light looking.
Kukuris are
To
also
this,
solid blades, really lovely.
oh yeah, yeah. Kukris are meant to do serious work.
Yeah.
Um, but there's all. I thought so. So there's number four, or is it number nine? Number nine, I think,
Mhm. This one,
with that, yeah, Chilanum or whatever you call that type of.
Indian.
I've seen a lot of these of such high quality
Yes.
that, and just forged in one piece, the hilt and the blade. There's a very nice looking number 10. I almost bought one of those, and I went back to get it, and somebody else had bought it. It wasn't terribly expensive, ivory hilted and
Yeah.
beautifully, deeply full of blade like that. Um,
Qatar
Qatar, yeah. Is that a bichwa next to the Qatar?
to the Qatar. Yeah,
Yeah, there. Yeah, so it's got a kind of like knuckle guard handle.
yes, you see it
Um,
from this side. So
yeah,
this is, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. See,
I'll we
these
go
are.
to one of those areas which I love again, Moro. I love Moro weapons. Look at
They're
them.
so. I mean, they're so sculptural, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about people that were living in. I mean, like tropical areas,
Mm.
lots of natural disasters,
Yes.
pressure from the Spanish,
Yeah.
and they still managed to make all kinds of things. I love that one that's got the really odd shaped blade on the left there.
Yeah, this one, right? They call it the
Yeah,
typical Moro axe. No, if the name,
yeah.
I don't remember the name.
I've seen somebody use one of those
Mm.
for husking coconuts. You drive the point into a log,
Mm.
and that sets the blade upwards, and you get your coconut and you bash it down, and then you can take all the husk and everything off. Um, I saw someone where I live doing it on their front veranda, but they had one that was actually built into the log, not one that you could carry around and use for a general purpose axe like that one.
Yeah.
But people were talking about fighting with the spike, but they'd never seen anyone use it.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, like even just cutting up vegetables and that. So instead of cutting with the knife, you fix the knife and you push the vegetable against it. It was really
Pete, do you
brilliant.
remember on Canary Islands, also the museums? Okay, we are going to talk even more later on together. But in each
Mhm.
museum in Spain you go, there is always a section on Philippines. Does it surprise you?
Oh well, this was an
Yeah,
area they held for such a long time.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's only when the Spanish government completely ran out of money that they lost these areas because they just couldn't
Exactly.
afford to maintain them. And the
Exactly.
Americans took the Philippines and they took Cuba
Yes,
and things like that because they had the money. The Spanish didn't.
exactly. So we can watch this, please. Be take a look at that.
Yeah.
These are
So
from the
it's
Philippines where they took
yeah.
it back. So this one has a history actually, and you can read
Mm,
about that. Later on we can maybe have a special video on that. So you see the Campilan, Crystal,
yeah.
solid blades.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is
They're
another
they're, they're
Campilan, guys. The Campilan we showed before, this was another one, and these are another one. And
mm,
then we have Barong and this
mm.
Moro axe, and
See, these are the thing is the barongs and the axe and that are these, is that a bow?
I don't know
Looks
what
like
it
a bow.
is to be honest. I don't remember.
It looks Yeah, it looks a bit like a bow.
Okay.
I don't know what the thing to the left of it may be a spear or maybe it's a blowpipe spear.
Oh,
There were a lot of different weapons being used in those areas.
yeah.
But what I was going to say is